Well, hello and how are you? Hey, this here's Shenandoah Briscoe again, coming to you live right out of St. Charles, Missouri. Now, this is going to seem like deja vu to me. I mean, this is a third time repeat. Now, I tell you what, I'm getting sick and tired of doing this thing today, but it's all right. It's all right. Bear with me, folks. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to let y'all enjoy it. Okay? This here is blog number 120. That's right, 120. That's a lot of blogs. But anyway, I can't figure it. Okay, somehow or another I've been clicking my camera off and I've been right in the middle of things. I talked earlier about I got a comment on one of my songs yesterday. Wasn't a bad comment about my voice, although it could have been. But what it was a good comment on song choice. And I appreciate the comment on song choice, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't rag on my voice because, well, hey, the voice was way off. And like when I listened back to them, it seems like I slow them down too much. And I didn't think I could slow them down too much because I talk too fast. Of course, I think I talk too fast, but a friend of mine named Craig Wyatt, he wouldn't think I talk too fast because he's from Chicago. And, well, up there in Chicago, let's put it this way. We went down here to a place called the Dewdrop Inn when I was stationed down in Millington, Tennessee. Actually, I think it was called the Anchor, but that's beside the point. We stopped in down there, and a pert little waitress comes over because she's a Southern gal, so you know she's going to be pert. Anyway, she stopped in over there at the table, and she says, "Would y'all like a soda pop?" And, well, I tell you what, whenever she popped that out, it nearly fried Craig's mind. He was thinking he could have known all the flavors of the sodas and the daily specials right there and then had we been in Chicago, 'cause that's how fast they talk up there. But that being said, I got something I want to read today, and hopefully I've got a couple of things, but hopefully I won't be knocking the stupid camera off again. The first thing I read was something that I didn't get out real well, and so this here's another one that I hope I can get it done without killing my video. I killed the video twice so far, so bear with me if I'm sounding a little agitated. It's bear with me 'cause I'm starting to get that way. Okay, now then, here we go. Pop that up. While living in the Triangle, in the 1949 UNC graduate composed, what it was football. All right, here. A folksy yarn about a country deacon fell at Deacon's football game, first football game. Chapter Hill-based Colonial Records released the story and told Deacon Andy Griffith, and was told by Deacon Andy Griffith on November 14th, 1953. That same day, the Tar Heels lost 34-14 to Notre Dame Fighting Irish. As popularity of the record soared, it eventually sold more than 1 million copies. So did Andy Griffith's success. In the 6 decades since its release, Deacon Andy's word may have faded from memory, but this humorous, masterful storyteller remains. Hold on just a second, folks. I'm going to pause out. Okay, here we go. What it was football, a deacon's perspective. It was late October. Why, I believe it was. We was going to hold a tent service off in this college town, and we got there about dinner time on Saturday, and Different ones of us thought that we'd ought to get us a mouthful to eat before we set up a tent. So we get off the truck and we follow this little bunch of people through this small little bitty patch of woods there, and we come up on a big sign, and that sign that says, "Get something to eat here." Well, I went up and I got me 2 hot dogs and a big orange drink, and before I could take a mouthful of that food, this whole raft of people come up and around me and got me to where I couldn't eat nothing up, eat nothing up like, and I dropped my big orange drink. I did. Well, friends, they commenced to moving, and there wasn't so much that I could do but to move with them. Well, we commenced to going through all kinds of doors and gates, and I don't know what all, and I took up over one of them, and sign said North Gate, and we kept going through there, and pretty soon we came up upon a young boy, and he says, "Ticket, please." And I says, "Friend, I don't have a ticket. I don't even know where it is I'm going." I did. And well, he says, "Come back out as quick as you can." And I says, "I'll dare. I'll turn right around the first chance I get." Well, we kept on a moving through there, and this pretty soon everybody got to where it was they was going, because they parted, and I could see pretty good. I could, and what I'd seen was this whole raft of people sitting on this 2 banks and looking at one another across this pretty little green cow pasture. Well, they was. Somebody had took that and drawed lines, white lines, all over and drove posts in it. And I don't know what all. And I looked down there, and I seen 5 or 6 convicts a running up and down and a blowing whistles, and they was. And then I looked down there, and I see these pretty little girls wearing these little bitty short dresses and a dancing around. And so I sat down and thought I'd see what it was that was going to go on and happen. I did. About that time I got sat down, I looked down there, and I seen 30 or 40 men come running out of one end of a great big outhouse down there. They did. And everybody where I was sitting got up and hollered, and about that time 30 or 40 come running out of the other end of that outhouse, and the other bank full. They got up and hollered. And I asked this feller that was sitting behind me, "Friend, what is it they're hollering for?" Well, he whopped me on the back, and he says, "Buddy, have a drink." Well, I says, "I believe I will have another big orange." And I got it, and I sat back down. When I got there again, I seen that the men had gotten into 2 little bitty bunches down there, real close together, and they voted. They did. They voted and elected 1 man apiece, and them 2 men come out in the middle of the cow pasture and shook hands like they hadn't seen one another in a long time. Then a convict, he come over and where they was standing, and he took out a quarter, and they commenced to odd man right there. They did. After a while, I seen what it was they was odd manning for. It was both bunches full of the men wanted this funny-looking pumpkin to play with. They did. And I know, friends, that they couldn't eat it because they had kicked the whole evening and it never did bust. But anyhow, what I was telling was both bunches full wanted that thing. One bunch got it, and it made the other bunch just as mad as they could be. Friends, I seen that evening the awfulest fight I'd ever seen in my life. I did. Would run at one another and kick one another and throw one another on the ground and down and stomp on one another and grind their feet on one another and I don't know what all. And just as fast as one of 'em would get hurt, they'd tote him off and run another one in. Well, they had done that as long as I sat there, but pretty soon this boy that had said, "Ticket, please," why, he came up to me and he says, "Friend, you're going to have to leave because you don't have a ticket." And I says, "Well, all right." And I got up and I left. I don't know, friends, to this day what it was they was doing down there, but I have studied about it, and I think it was that it's some kindly of a contest where they see which bunch of full of them men can take that pumpkin and run from one end of that cow pasture to the other end without getting knocked down or stepping in something. There you go. That's Andy Griffith's. Uh, what it was football. Alrighty then. Uh, I'm sure my dad's going to appreciate that one because he liked that. He liked it when it first came out, and so therefore I'm sure he'll like it now too. It was probably told a lot better by Andy Griffith, well, because he was a yarn teller. He could tell you a yarn about anything. As a matter of fact, he done a Romeo and Juliet that would take probably a little bit too long for me tonight because it is 12 and I've only got 15. So maybe I might be able to. I can try it. Oh, boop boop boopy doo doo. Okay, let's see. Is that it? No, that's the movie. I don't want to watch him say it. I wanted just the lyrics. Where'd it go? All right, I read it once earlier today. Romeo and Juliet. Now there's a real thing. It's a story about how this boy and this girl fell in love with one another. Don't you see? It is, and everything would have been all right for 'em except their daddies didn't get along. They didn't. And when the play opens, Juliet's daddy is throwing this big fancy dress ball, and he invited the whole town to be there, but he didn't invite none of them Romeo's people to come. And his buddies learned of it, and they put him up to a slipping on a costume and a slipping in that party. And he was a spunky kid of a boy, and he done it. He done it, and he got in there, and everything was going good until all of a sudden he sees this girl Juliet come down the stairs. And he was so struck by her that he give a soliloquy. Right there, he did. And it wasn't about being or not being, it was about doing or not doing. Well, the do's were out over the don'ts, and so what he done, he got her by the hand and he started to take her out into the yard. And well, we'll never know what it was they was going to do out there. We won't, because this feller Tabet, he recognized Romeo for who he was, and he come up on him a trying to pick a fight. But But Juliet's daddy, he didn't want no bloodshed right there in his living room. He didn't. And so all he done, he run Romeo off. But Romeo didn't go straight on home. No, he didn't. He went out and he waited and he hid in the yard until everybody left the party, and then when they had all went, he popped up and looked around, and he seen this light come from far off yonder. And he said to himself, he says, "Hark," he says, "what light by yonder window shines?" He did. And let me tell you, Juliet stepped out of her bedroom window onto that stoop, and oh, she gave us soliloquy. She did. Friends, and somewheres in it, she says, "Romeo, Romeo," she says, "wherefore out thou, Romeo?" And he popped up and he says, "I'm right here." Well, as it happened, there was this great pea vine a growing up to where she was standing, and so he clumb up it. He clumb up it, and that is where they had that balcony scene. And they hadn't been there but a few minutes till he asked her to marry him, and that was to show that he was an honorable boy about it all. Well, she says when. Well, he says now, and that shows he weren't up to there for no light courting. He wanted to get on with it. And back then, the reason everybody lived in castles was that there was so many of 'em to put up at night. Well, there was so many of 'em that they had to keep a preacher on duty day and night. Well, feller Friar Lawrence was his name, and so Romeo and Juliet went downstairs and woke him up and told him what it was that they wanted to do, and he thought that that was all right, so he married 'em right there. But then, don't you see, it was a question of where they were going to spend the night. Things being how they was and all, the Friar Lawrence told Romeo that he ought to go on home that night, and Romeo he didn't take to it one hot. He didn't, but he did. He went on home that night, and then Romeo thought that he better go off and lay low till things cooled off. And while he was gone, friends, Juliet's mamma took a great notion that Juliet ought to get married. And then she went in a she was in a bind. She was, because she didn't want two husbands. She figured Romeo would be enough to take care of by himself. And so she went back down to Friar Lawrence to see what she ought to do. And he mixed her up a drink, and she drank it, and she fell out across the bed right there. And everybody thought she's dead. And they had this big pretty funeral and laid her out in the family tomb and all, and the father Friar Lawrence couldn't get with Romeo that she wasn't really dead. So some of them mean boys that lived in that town told him that she was dead, and he figured life didn't hold nothing for him. So he went out and he got him this can of lye to drink. And so he went over to the tomb where she was laid out, and he opened the door of it, and he says, "Oh, my love, oh, my wife," he did. And he went in, and he drank the lye and kissed her, and says, "With his kiss I die." And he fell out across her right there. And he was a big boy for his age, and he was. And the impact of him falling on her woke her up, and she woke up, didn't know what was going on, and she looked there and seen Romeo lying dead. And then she figured life didn't mean hold nothing for her. And then she took out his knife and run it into herself, and she expired. Now, she did. Friends, the moral of this is if you got a boy that courts a girl that you don't like, or the other way around, if you don't want the expense of a double funeral on you, the best thing to do is to let them have a cheap wedding. There you go. That's the end of it. And I'm sure that's my time. Yeah, 21:16. That's way over my time. All right, I hope they let me post it. All right, hey, this here Shenandoah Briscoe saying hello and how are you? You know, God loves you and so do I. So be blessed and have a great evening. And I'll see you tomorrow, okay? All righty then. Goodbye.